So, have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, the reality you see every day isn't the only one? That it's just one way of looking at things? Well, that's exactly the idea we're going to explore today. We're diving headfirst into the absolutely wild world documented by Carlos Castaneda, a world shown to him by this mysterious sorcerer, Don Juan Matus. Yeah, this is a trip into what he called a separate reality, a place with totally different rules, different forces, and a completely different way of seeing. And Don Juan himself kicks things off with this incredible line. Now, he's not just talking about sunset. He's talking about a state of mind, a state of perception. It's that place where the solid, predictable world we think we know, it starts to come apart at the seams, fray at the edges, and you get a glimpse of something else. And that crack, right there, that's where all his teachings really start. The whole thing starts out pretty normal, really. You've got Carlos Castaneda, a young grad student in the 60s, out in the desert doing fieldwork on medicinal plants. He runs into this old man, Don Juan, and thinks, great, this guy can teach me about peyote. But that's not what happened. Not at all. What he got instead was a full-blown apprenticeship into a reality he couldn't have even dreamed of. A world where all his books and his academic smarts were totally useless, and the only thing that mattered was what you could perceive directly. So right away, this meeting between the academic and the sorcerer kicks off this total re-education. And Don Juan, he doesn't waste time with lectures or theories. Nope, he throws Castaneda right into the deep end with these direct and honestly pretty confusing personal challenges. And get this, the very first lesson has nothing to do with plants. It's about the fundamental nature of reality itself. So instead of talking about herbs, Don Juan just tells him to do something that sounds simple. Go find your spot on this porch. And he doesn't mean just, a comfortable place to sit. He means a unique place of personal power. A specific spot where you feel strong, at peace, at your absolute best. And how are you supposed to find it? Well, you can't measure it, you can't analyze it, you have to feel it. I mean, right from the get-go, it's a total rejection of the scientific method. He's pushing Castaneda into a world that's all about direct, personal experience. And this quote, man, it just nails the core of Don Juan's whole philosophy. He's basically saying that our nice, neat, orderly picture of reality, it's just that. It's a picture. It's a description we tell ourselves. But the world itself, oh, that's a wild, untamed mystery. And if you really want to understand it, you've got to learn how to see past the stories you're constantly telling yourself about it. All right, so once Castaneda's perception starts to shift a little, the lessons get way more intense. We move from just perceiving the world differently to actually encountering the forces that live inside it. This is where Don Juan introduces him to certain plants. And let's be clear, this is not for fun, not for recreation. He sees them as powerful tools, gateways for meeting these non-human entities. Things that act as guides and sometimes as tests that exist just outside the range of our normal vision. And this is where Don Juan draws a really important line in the sand. He talks about two very different paths. On one hand, you have mescalito, which is the spirit of the peyote plant. He calls this a teacher, a protector. It gives you lessons, it guides you, but it's not a power you can just wield for your own purposes. But then you have the devil's weed, or datura, and that's a whole different ballgame. That plant offers a direct line to what he calls an ally, a source of incredible power, but it's a tricky, seductive path, one that's just loaded with traps for the unwary. And believe me, this is not something you just do casually. The preparation of the datura root is this incredibly detailed ritual. You can see the steps here. It's all about precision. The plant has to be washed meticulously, every speck of dirt removed. The parts are severed just so, separated into perfect little heaps. You only keep the whole, perfect parts. It's all about respect and intention. See, this isn't just about eating a plant. It's about forming a relationship with a very powerful force. You have to prove your intent is pure before you can even dream of touching its power. So what exactly is this ally he keeps talking about? Well, according to Don Juan, it's a non-human power. And let's be clear, it's not a friend, it's not a helper like you'd normally think of one. It's a force, a raw power that can literally transport you beyond the boundaries of yourself. It's what allows a sorcerer to step outside of ordinary reality. And having an ally, that's what separates the apprentices from the masters. It's the sign of a true sorcerer. But here's the thing. Just getting an ally, that's only one piece of the puzzle. It's not enough. To actually navigate this dangerous new world, to handle that kind of raw power without being destroyed by it, you have to build an absolutely ironclad internal discipline. And that discipline, that's what Don Juan calls the path of the warrior. It's the training you need to hopefully one day become a man of knowledge. Which, of course, leads to the big question, right? This is really what the entire apprenticeship is all about. After all these bizarre lessons, these terrifying encounters, all this intense discipline, what is the end goal? What does it actually mean to be a man of knowledge? And Don Juan's answer is, well, it's profound. He says a man of knowledge isn't defined by the facts he's collected or the secrets he's learned. No. It's about how he got there. It's about the journey. It's about someone who has faced all the hardships of learning with total honesty, without rushing, without giving up. It's about someone who goes as far as they possibly can in trying to understand the secrets of power and knowledge. And he says that this entire journey is basically a fight against 4 major enemies. The first one? It's the one you'd expect, fear. You have to conquer it to even get started. But once you do, a much sneakier enemy shows up. Clarity. This is that dangerous feeling that you've got it all figured out, that dazzling certainty that can blind you and just stop you from learning anything new. If you can push past that arrogance, you face the third enemy, power. And this is a big one. It's an overwhelming force that can corrupt you and completely destroy you if you don't handle it with the utmost respect. And then, if you manage to navigate all of that, you face the final enemy, the one you can never defeat. Old age. He says it's the cruelest of all, and the final test isn't to beat it, but to face it with an unbreakable spirit. Okay, so that's the practical side of things, the discipline of the warrior. But now let's talk about the big picture philosophy behind all of this. Don Juan breaks down reality into 2 fundamental parts, a way of understanding, well, everything. He calls these 2 sides the tonal and the nagual. First up, the tonal. The easiest way to think about the tonal is that it's everything we are and everything we know. It's your personality, your thoughts, your habits. It's the chair you're sitting on, the words you're hearing right now. It is the entire organized world that we create for ourselves from the moment we're born. And in a way, it's a good thing. It's like a guardian that keeps our world stable and makes sense of things. And then there's the nagual. The nagual is, well, it's everything else. It's the part of us and the part of the universe for which there are no words. No names, no descriptions. It's the vast, unknowable mystery that exists just outside our little bubble of reality. You can't even really feel it in a normal way. It's just pure, raw potential. It's the source of everything, and it's where real power is. Honestly, this is the perfect way to think about it. Imagine that everything you know, your entire world, your personality, your experiences, it's all a small, neat little island. That island is your tonal. But the nagual, that's the vast, deep, mysterious ocean that surrounds your island on all sides. And the thing is, most of us spend our entire lives on the beach, never even dipping a toe in the water. So the obvious question is, if we're all stuck on this island, how do we ever get to experience the ocean? Well, Don Juan says there is a way. In fact, it's the ultimate goal of a warrior's entire training. It's a technique he calls stopping the world. And it's what finally allows a person to truly see. And the secret to this whole incredible system, it all comes down to one single technique. You have to stop your internal dialogue. That's it. Don Juan insists that the only way to stop the world is to silence that constant voice in your head. You know the one that's always describing, labeling, and judging everything you see and do. That little voice is the thing that builds the walls of our island, that maintains our tonal. And if you can just shut it up, even for a moment, you punch a hole in that reality. And the implication of this is just, it's staggering. What he's saying is that our reality isn't a fixed, solid thing out there. It's something we are actively creating, second, by telling ourselves what it is. And if we can just stop telling ourselves that the world is a certain way, well, then the world stops being that way. For just a moment, the world as we know it dissolves, and we get to perceive things directly, as they really are, just pure energy. That's the nagual. And that state of pure direct perception, that's what he calls seeing. And that really brings us to the heart of it all, and to our final question for you. The world of Don Juan is one of incredible, radical possibility. It suggests that what we call reality is really just a very fragile agreement, a story we all keep telling ourselves to keep things looking solid. So I'll just leave you with this thought. If you could, right now, just for 1 second, silence that inner voice. If you could look at the world without a single word, without a single label or description attached to it, what do you think you would actually see?